Welcome back to Agile Lemonade. We are here today to discuss some amazing officers who work in a very hard field as women in this world. And as you know, Agile Lemonade is an extension of Built for Agility. A little bit about Built for Agility, we want to talk to Lance Watkins, who's on the board. So tell us about Built for Agility, please.
Oh, well, good afternoon, and thank you for having me and asking. All right. So basically, Built for Agility is centered around creating self-healing communities through innovative and transformative educational programs. We are thought leaders, practitioners, and disruptive innovators, okay, who specialize in social justice and civic transformation. I wanted to have some females in law enforcement to come and speak because a lot of times their experience is totally different. Mm-hmm. And this is also a way to introduce citizens into the lives of police officers. I feel that one of the problems that we have right now is that citizens don't really understand police officers and why they do what they do. And then on the flip side, police officers sometimes, because we are tasked with wearing many hats, we don't really know or really take the time to focus in on the people that we have sworn to uphold, to serve, and to protect.
I think another flip of that would be there's a disconnect that happens over time for many. You know, I think it's a real disconnect. And I think that's where Built for Agility and the healing between the communities is really important, because the disconnect happens over time. I think all of us in our field, after a while, you've been in it for so long, you disconnect from reality and what you do.
No, I agree. So this, hopefully with this conversation here, it'll be the start of many. And this way, we can all start to heal, because law enforcement needs the community, and the community definitely needs law enforcement.
Absolutely. So let's get started. We have two amazing women with us here today. We'll remain anonymous, but we want you to feel comfortable and safe and be able to talk about your experiences. And to open it up, was becoming a police officer your first, like your dream? Like you woke one day and said, I want to be a police officer. Was that your goal or your dream in life?
It was for me.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay, so let's start with for you. You wanted to be a police officer.
I did.
Why?
And I don't have a really cool story. It's just, something that I knew I wanted to do. I don't really have a cool
And nothing
story.
swayed your mind from it. You want to do it for as long as you can remember. You want to be a police officer.
I did. And actually, I joined when I was 16 in the Police Explorers program.
Nice.
Which, for I think 14 to 21 years of age, you can, become a police explorer and get to see what that life is like being a police officer. So I jumped in that at 16 and maintained those friendships throughout college, and I still have those same friendships.
I love the contrast. And you did not want to be.
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. So what did you want to be?
I wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
So I definitely wanted to be in law, but not on the streets. That was not ideal for me at all.
So what was the shift for you? When did that happen?
The shift was I got pregnant early and I had my son, and I didn't have all these years to go to school. I had to get paid right then and there to support my son. So that's where the shift came from.
Really?
And then once I got into it, I absolutely fell in love with being a police officer.
Well, that's good. You fell in love with it.
I definitely did.
Because many of us, we get into a field, we have one initial dream, and then something happens, and we're like, well, let me do this.
Right.
And there's not really a love for it.
No.
And it shows sometimes, but you have a true love for it.
I absolutely love being in law enforcement.
So how does it feel, though, working in a male-dominated field? What challenges have you faced?
Oh, there's many challenges.
Okay.
One of the challenges being, of course, they don't think we can do the job as well as they can. There's always that challenge of, they would call me for like the welfare concerns and the children that, are abandoned. Oh, come and babysit them. Those are the calls that they would call me for. But I'm like, no, I can get out there and get with them too. And I had to prove that.
Mm-hmm. And what about you? Do you have any challenges or anything you faced?
Kind of the same of what she's talking about. When you come into law enforcement as a female, you don't get respect. You have to earn it, which everybody has to earn it, right? But there's men that automatically get that respect. Mm-hmm. And then even if you're military, you get even more automatic respect. One of the first times I went on a open door call where we had to go clear a building, I'm getting ready to stack up, go in the house, and another senior officer shows up and says, you go wait on perimeter. We've got this.
Oh.
and I was new, so I had to say, okay, you can't
Right.
talk back, right? Because you need to know your role. So I had to take that, and it wasn't until a couple years later, stacking up, they tried to do the same thing. I said, no, you get out. This is mine. Let's go. And we rolled into the house.
But they're like, okay, no problem.
But
So
it takes time to be able
does.
to assert that, and that where you actually know your role.
How long did it take for you to feel that you can assert that type of authority, to feel that type of, take that type of control?
Not until like 5 years.
In.
5 years in.
And how long have you been now in law enforcement?
12 years.
5 years. And for you, how long did it take?
It was, I'm a little more bullheaded. And so maybe probably about a good 3 years,
And how long have you been in law enforcement right now?
almost 8 years.
So let me ask you this. So of course it's difficult because you're a male-dominated field. Is it still hard for you to be taken seriously?
Oh, no, not anymore.
Not anymore?
Mm-mm.
But at first it really was
It
hard.
really was. It was challenging.
Have you noticed it when you have when there's a change in leadership, there's new people come in, and you're a woman, and you have rookies, all these things, you still have to battle that on a daily basis? Or is it just
So
bit
for
different?
me, right, like I made my presence be known, and then it turned into she's the B word. So you have to kind of like toe that line of I'm not that, but I want to be taken seriously. And it's a trial and error. You got to do it and then say, okay, that didn't work. That wasn't receptive, and then try something else. But yeah, I wouldn't say for me, there wasn't really a change in, what did you say, leadership?
Leadership changes, you have to prove yourself over and over again constantly.
No, once it was established and word got out, I was fine.
That was it.
Fine.
That was it.
Yeah.
What about for you?
So mine's actually different.
Yeah.
I do find that I still struggle getting respect, because you may do something good and you're doing good work, but it's because you're cute, or they attribute it to your looks.
So let me ask this question, because people may not know because they can't see. You are a Black woman.
Correct.
And you are a white woman.
Yes.
Do you feel, because I'm a Black woman as well, do you feel because you're a Black woman, it's more so, let me leave her alone? Because we get a bad rap.
Right.
The angry Black woman thing hangs over our head for a very long time.
I
You can
agree
just
with that.
say, leave me alone. Oh, here she goes. She's angry.
Yeah.
And for you, you're petite. Like you said, they look at your looks and they feel they can push you around. Do you notice that? And do you resent that sometimes, that you get taken advantage of or they try to, because of looks and size?
I agree with that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
So what struggles have you had being the angry Black woman and having to tell them we're not going to do this today?
Oh, I mean, in law enforcement, our mouths are very loose. We don't hold anything back. And so I've heard it all from, you must be on your, like they will literally say that. Oh, it must be
those
that
buttons.
time of the month. And I'm just like, really? That's what you say? But what can we do? I'm not going to argue with that.
But they want you to argue. Though.
They want that.
They want
I don't
it.
give them that satisfaction.
I couldn't do what y'all do. I'd be in trouble every day. So being taken seriously with your colleagues is one thing. Now we're on the streets. Now you're dealing with the citizens, the community. Is it hard to be taken seriously from the community and criminals, or people who may be criminals, innocent until proven guilty?
I think so, yes. I've been tested quite a few.
Okay.
And then they regret it afterwards.
So do you want to give an example of a test? Maybe not the one they regretted.
This just happened recently, actually. Chasing a suspect, and he thought, oh, she's a girl. She can't, I'm going to get the better. And I caught up with him, and I handled my business. And he was like, man, miss. Man, miss. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, man, miss. Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Don't play around here. What about for you?
So funny enough, mine's quite the opposite of her.
Really?
I do find that I get more respect from citizens and offenders, if you will, than I do my own coworkers.
No, I do agree with that.
And, there's two types of men out there that they're going to look at you like their mama or their sister, and they're going to give you that respect because you're
Facts.
a woman. And then you're going to get the guy that doesn't respect women, and he's going to challenge you because he feels he needs to be above you and more powerful.
And intimidate you and take advantage.
But more times than not, I actually find people respect me because I can communicate better than the guys.
That's true.
And so they can appreciate that I can communicate why I'm arresting you, why this has happened. Guys, they just put cuffs on and throw you in the car.
Yeah.
But do you also think it could be that men think they can manipulate women? If I'm nice to you, if I'm going to go along with you, they're thinking they're smoozing their way in. Yeah. It's like, no, this is not how it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sometimes I play the game with them too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm going to get what I want.
See, men can't do like that.
No.
Can't do like
and I don't mind playing the game because I just need that end result.
Yep.
That's it.
Have you ever witnessed other female officers who do not have that good balance? And they are more one way or the other. They get taken advantage of and they just don't know how to get out of it. Or the ones who just, I'm going to prove every day that I am tough no matter what. And they just hold to the badge of, I am that B.
Before we get to that, I'm going to say this. The women gave me more problems when I first hired on than the men did.
Okay.
The women were they did not talk to me for 5 years. And one of them was my FTO, and literally it was like walking on needles every day. No, they didn't accept me or talk to me for the longest.
It's hard to break into the woman culture of law enforcement.
Very.
But why do you think that is?
Because we hold ourselves at a really high standard being women. We know we've got to do double the work. And so when a new female comes in, we want you to be able to prove that you can do just as much as we can. Don't act ditzy. Don't start sleeping with people and ruining our names.
I agree with that.
It's that, but I wish somebody would have, had an open hand and guided me through it.
So instead of too different when we have new female officers come in? Do you tend to realize you're doing the same thing? You have to break yourself from doing it, or you're automatically going to be, I'm not going to be what I experienced?
A little bit of both. Because I too want them to know I've been doing this and I proved myself. Now you have to prove yourself. It just is what it is. But I don't shun them or not speak to them. Most times I'll pull them in like, hey, I see the road that you're going down. You might not want to take that road. You don't have to listen to me if you don't want to. But this is my advice.
Like a mentor.
I try. I definitely do. But they still got to hold their own and prove to everyone that they can do it for themselves.
Have you noticed with the, generations change, our mindsets are different. Have you noticed with the younger ones coming up, it's harder to talk to them like that about that, or is it easier? I know for me, I'm from a generation where we listen to an elder. It may not be age, but like they've been here. How are you trying to guide me? And then I've noticed also with the younger ones, this idea of, I already know. Well, you don't. But then I'm frustrated. They're like, you know what? Who gonna feel? You don't want to listen? You gonna feel it. That's my mindset. So have you noticed that?
So I haven't. And, to the question of, do you do the same thing or do you extend some grace to them? Right. I do immediately. It's not my place to judge if you're going to take my advice or not. And so I don't get offended if they don't take it because, you know what? I offered my friendship and my mentorship. And if you don't want to take that right now, my phone's still available in 5 years when you hit a rough patch, and I'm still here.
How do you prepare yourself every day knowing you're in a field that many people do not like you? Many people do not trust you. Put aside male or female, you are an officer every day when you wake up in the morning besides your personal lives. How do you prepare yourself mentally for each day knowing that there are people out here who do not trust you for many reasons, do not care for you many reasons, may want to harm you for many reasons? How do you prepare yourself for that every day?
Lots of prayers. I pray. I have a long commute to work, and I pray the whole way going. And then when I get in that parking lot, I have to remind myself that, yes, they don't trust me and all of that. And I have to put myself in their shoes and have some type of understanding of, I get it. I know where you're coming from. I was once in those shoes. That's why I absolutely did not want to be a police officer, because I didn't trust the police. And so I get it. And I don't take it personal. I don't. And I have patience. And I have to remind myself, have patience.
What about you?
So, I've gone through a journey recently where I've been reminded that I have very little control in life. And that for a control freak, that's hard. So with something like that, I have to remind myself I can only be me and do what I can, what I can control. And I hope that I can make an impact on somebody at least once a day, that they can see that I'm not what they had experienced in the past. And, if more people just guided with their heart and we're open-minded, we might change that.
Have you two always felt that way, or did you have to grow into that? Because the disrespect is real, I hear. Mm-hmm. And you've taken an oath, you're in a field to serve and protect, and the disrespect is tremendous across the board from your colleagues, from the community. Have you always had that mindset? Did you have to grow into that? Did you experience something that said, you know what, this way is not going to work. I need to work this way. What have you experienced where you had to make that change?
Yeah, I think I did have to grow into it because I came in it with a good heart, wanting to help people. And, whenever I would come across somebody that hated me and hated the uniform I wore and what I stood for, I would try and have conversation with them and look, let's talk this out. Let's maybe see both sides. And they wouldn't have it. And I left like a little kicked puppy after that call. Mm-hmm. And because I was like, why wouldn't she hear me out? Why wouldn't she listen to what I was saying? I was listening to what she was sharing with me, but she wasn't ready to have that conversation with me. And so, I sat in my car, and I think that was kind of a turning point for me, that I said, I can't change somebody's mind. I can hopefully only make the difference that one day when they are ready to talk, I'm here and I'm open.
And what about for you?
Pretty much similar. I went into it wanting to help, wanted to be, this loving officer. And yeah, when you get those people that throw it at you, because they don't hold back either.
Right.
It's darts. Mm-hmm. And so eventually I'm human too. Mm-hmm. When you have somebody picking away at you, your niceness does go away. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I tried it that way. That didn't work. So obviously I need to be who they said that I am. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was like this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
I'm like nice. And then I'm like, okay, I got to turn it up because they're not listening. They're not listening.
Right.
And then I'm like, but that's not who I am. And I don't want to be like that. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, so what do you do? But especially with everything going on, I'm like, I got to be nice. And I got to show them that we're not all like that. Because it starts with somebody, and why not let it start with me?
So let me ask you on a more zeroed in with what's going on in the world, spotlight on law enforcement. A lot of it's been spotlighted since, I can say, the past 4 years, 5 years, really. Maybe it's like 2018. Yeah. 2018 has been a real spotlight. And then last year, we were all sitting at home. It's a real big spotlight. Mm-hmm. How has it been for you knowing what you're seeing going on in other places and maybe locally, whatever? How do you now say, okay, exercising grace is hard. How do you try to show people that we're not all like this? What's your journey on, I need to show people we are not all like this?
I think just simply being ourselves. And hopefully that they have those little daily contacts with an officer, right, and they see that. And maybe that one contact says, well, maybe they are good people. Mm-hmm. And then the next day they run into another officer that they have a good interaction with. And eventually that becomes their normal. And they're having those daily interactions, and they're not just seeing it from the news.
So I think I can only speak for myself. I see what goes on everywhere else, but I don't see it to that magnitude here in Texas. Mm-hmm. And so I'm so glad that we don't have it to that degree like how they have it in other states. I make it a point to get out in the community and speak to people and put the windows down and smile and, get out there with the kids. Blue Santa, I make sure that I take part in that every year. Not because we have to, but because I think getting out there in the community and just showing that other side of us is very important. So any chance that I get to get out there in the community, I do.
So being a Black woman, though, in law enforcement, and please tell me if I'm wrong, to me it seems heavier. Because you're a Black woman.
I think it is.
And then you're in law enforcement.
Because definitely it is.
Forget that. No, you just blew. So you don't understand. You're a traitor. You don't know the history of it's all of that you have to hear.
Trust me.
And you're trying to exercise grace, show something different.
Right.
How hard is it for you? What's the weight that you carry being a Black person in law enforcement and then also a woman?
Yeah. It is. And I get it from both sides. I get it from my brothers and sisters in blue, and I get it from those in the streets. So I can just be me, accept it or don't accept it. I've heard the whispers, oh, she's too friendly with the quote unquote turds. And I'm like, but I went to school with them and I grew up with them and I'm from the hood and I know them and their grandmother and their mother.
Right.
They just took a different path. It doesn't make them horrible people. It makes them people that made bad choices.
Bad choices, yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, I don't know. I like I said, I've heard the whispers. I just let them talk. My actions speak for itself.
Right. And for you, because it's a different experience for you, because you are a white woman in law enforcement, and the privilege is real. Let's just call it what it is. The privilege is real.
Yeah.
So how they react to you, then the respect that you may get will not be the same thing you get, or you can come forceful. They're not going to take you seriously.
Right.
But how do you, walking into areas where people do not look like you and you're a woman, how do you handle that?
Same way, this is who I am. No, I don't understand your struggles in the Black community, but I'm willing to listen. Tell me, share them with me, and I can empathize with you because I'm a minority, as a female working in a male-dominated field. We don't have the same struggles, but we have similar struggles. And I'm willing to keep an open ear. And as long as you give me respect, I'm going to give you respect.
Right.
That's how we get through this together.
So there are bad seeds in every field. I'm a civilian. Y'all got some bad seeds. So I know it's not easy to speak up against when you see things happening. But what are the consequences when you speak up? Especially as a woman, because the reality is we're speaking to women today in law enforcement. It's not going to be the same consequences. You're still battling people respecting you, thinking you can't do the job. You're petite, or you must be angry. You must be against all the nonsense. Right. But when you see foolishness from your peers, from your colleagues, that's going to go against what you stand for and who you are, like this is wrong. How do you speak up against that? What are the consequences when you do?
So I'm not sure if you're speaking like towards us per se, or like something we see in the streets against
Let's
civilians.
say streets, and then let's say us. Say you.
I have definitely been in more situations than I would like to have been, where I've seen something going on and I have to intervene. For me, it's not about going and telling someone. I just do what I need to do to correct the bad behavior on the scene and hope that that person sees that and says, it jolts in them, okay, I was doing something wrong, and let them fix themselves. I don't really, quote unquote, go tell on them. Amongst ourselves, peer to peer, I think we have discussions and we're like, hey, that wasn't cool what you did. And I can take that person to the side and speak to them. So yeah, it's kind of like that for me.
What about for you?
So I would agree with that. I get, an example would be use of force, right? Maybe an officer, sometimes it gets heated. These fights get heated. Sometimes they get personal, but that's why we all police each other.
Yeah.
And if we come up on the scene and we realize you're still using force, you don't need to, hey man, back off, I got this.
Yeah.
And most of the time, actually, I've never had anybody tell me, no, get away.
Right.
They're like, you're right. It pulls them out of that and they can step away and we, handle the rest non-emotionally. So I've actually never experienced having to report anybody like that because we're good about policing each other.
Yeah.
And have you had anyone not want you to police them? Like, no, you're not going to tell me anything?
I mean, when I first started and you have the veteran cops, the officers that's been here, senior officers, yeah, they'll tell you quickness. Little girl, you ain't been here. I got underwear older than you.
Yeah.
So they're not trying to hear it, but part of them does hear it.
Right.
They will tell you because they got to play that role because they're a senior officer that they're not trying to hear what you're saying. They hear it, and that's all that matters.
What you do is difficult and very, very hard. How do you take care of your wellness? How are you mentally from when you started from day one to now? And what do you do when it comes to your self-care and keeping yourself mentally healthy and fit to where you're not extreme like some people are extreme?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
A really personal question, but it's a good question. So again, I'm like on a roller coaster ride with that too. I swallow and swallow and swallow until my cup runneth over, and then I kind of hit a wall, and then that's my reality check. You're doing too much, or you're taking on too much, rather, and you need to first recognize it, and then I just I might have some people that I talk to about it, but then you don't want to seem like the weakling because they already consider you as weak. And again, I wish there was that sisterhood where we could talk to each other, because I'm sure what I'm going through is not
Someone
like
else
this.
is going through it as
right.
well.
Somebody else is going through it. But you don't know that until you give yourself the opportunity to speak out about what you're going through. So it is tough. It is tough.
It's isolating.
I'm very isolating. I do.
So that's not good.
I know. But I mean, so far it's worked, I guess. It's probably not the health. It's probably not the healthiest, but it's working for me. So
Okay.
I guess until it doesn't work anymore.
We got to change that. So
Yeah.
for you, what do you do?
So when I first got into law enforcement, I came in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to just save the world, go have fun,
Yes,
and
you
put
did.
bad guys in jail.
Yes, you
and
did.
I got shot down real quick.
Yeah.
Because I learned the police culture is not that of a brotherhood that the TV shows make it out to be. And that hit me hard because I really thought this is a brotherhood. We're going to...
You want to do this all your life. You're like, I want to be a police officer. Yeah.
And like when we're off duty, we're having parties with all of our families, barbecues and all this. No, that's not what happened. And so I had to struggle for a couple years of realizing this isn't what I thought. And, you learn to focus on yourself and your family, because if you're ever injured in the line of duty, your blue family is going to be there for you for the first couple weeks. They're all going to go back to their normal lives after that. So that's why you've got to foster your own family, because they're the ones that are going to be with you until the very end.
Yeah.
So like she just said, it's kind of isolating because you have hopes that you're going to build these friendships and bonds, but they're not quite what you thought. So in that, self-care, because at the end of the day, it's only me. I've got to take care of me. Nobody else is going to take care of me. Nobody else is going to save me but me.
Yeah.
So I make sure and take time to do what makes me happy. And if that's sitting in my car eating sushi, people watching, then I do it.
Yeah.
That's sad, though, but I understand. I do understand. It's really isolating. And for what you said, when others come in, it's like you got shot down from the time you got in there. You better earn your way and fight these battles. So it's safe to say, we need to realize that you're humans, you're people, and you are battling and you're struggling just like everyone else. And every day is a struggle, definitely.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate the both of you, being open and honest and transparent. I know that I know that some of the questions that were asked, you were a little reserved on your responses, and I get it, because there is still such a level of vulnerability that you don't want to put out there. And that's what happens with all police officers, right? Because we're supposed to be tough all the time. We can't feel what the average person is feeling, right? Because if we are the people who get called when there's a problem, how can we have problems?
Right.
Right. But there is one question that I wanted to ask, and why do we not have a safe place where we could speak out? We can do these mental dumps. So this way we can be the best version of ourselves, because if we're not good, how can we be good for the public and good to the public?
Right. And it sounds good and it looks good on paper, but the reality is, like you just said, we're expected to be tough. We're not expected or understood that we're human and that we're supposed to have everyday issues and family issues and spousal issues. And no, we're not supposed to have any of that. You better be in tip-top shape every time you put that uniform on. And it seems like the uniform is glued on, because I'm not allowed to, even when I take it off, to be, have a bad day, but the reality is, people say, even like society, oh, people are too sensitive. Everything is an issue. So you don't want to fall into that category either.
Right.
I would, say changing the culture within law enforcement is the key to the mental health awareness, or we do feel like we have a safe place to say, hey, this is what I'm going through, and just have a safe person to kind of talk to here and there, and it be more commonly accepted instead of suck it up, buttercup. I know you just saw, a dead child, but oh well, move on, push it down, move on.
Yeah.
And if we were more accepting of acknowledging, hey, that was a crappy call, let's talk about it and move on, we'd probably feel a lot better and more comfortable. And when you're able to be vulnerable with somebody, that's when your bonds grow. Mm-hmm. And that's where the brotherhood is. And if we don't have those open communication about our feelings and our lives, we're not going to have that brotherhood.
If you feel so isolated, isolation is not good for your mental health, because you feel like you cannot talk to anyone. Even if you have a peer, we can't communicate because suck it up. You didn't know what I just saw. And then for us as the community, we forget that you're seeing so much more. I'm seeing what's in my little unit. This is my silo of life, and you're seeing everything. And so you may be coming from a call that was horrendous, and you're trying to come down from that and try to process that to another horrendous thing. And it keeps building and building, not making an excuse, but we're human.
Right.
And things happen, and it's hard to decompress, because how long does it take for you to get off of? I know when I get upset or frustrated, it takes me a long time, and I'm not in law enforcement.
And the thing is, we don't have time. A lot of agencies are working shorthanded. Mm-hmm. So once you clear that call, it's on to the next. It's on to the next, and it's on to the next. There is no debrief. There is no time to come down. Mm-hmm. So think about that.
Right.
I just saw something. And for some people, it's not even the dead baby or car. It could be the smallest thing in my mind. I'm like, why is that triggering for you?
But you don't know what it is.
But you don't know what it is.
Yeah, that triggered it. Absolutely.
You don't know.
Cops are really good at compartmentalizing because they're having to go call to call. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing as we're raising more mental health awareness in our department is you push it down for so long. You're loading it in that backpack on your back. Eventually, it could be something super minor. You just saw a dog get run over in the middle of the road, and all of a sudden that burst your pack, and you're like, I need 3 weeks off to recover.
Right.
Because we push it down instead of acknowledging it in the moment and releasing it then.
Let me ask real quickly, media is no one's friend. And, the media is no one's friend.
Right.
Sensationalized, over the top, ridiculous. With the media every day on your phones, the TV, the radio, you can't escape it. Mm-hmm. Especially last year, you could not escape it. How has that been for you to deal with what's probably false information? Because we know the media amps things up more than what they need to sometimes, just to kind of get us going and get our blood boiling. How do you balance the media and us?
So for me, I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspaper. I know that's horrible because I
know a lot of people like that.
I'm in the dark a lot of the times about what's going on. Mm-hmm. If somebody doesn't tell me, or if I'm not scrolling on Facebook and see it, I won't know. I'm in the dark. But I protect myself from being overwhelmed by not taking part in media as much as possible as I can. I don't watch TV. The most I do is social media. I'm addicted to my phone. But newspaper, not going to catch me in that. No.
What about for you?
So I'm the complete opposite. This is so funny because as soon as I wake up, 5 a.m., the news comes on. It's local news because I need to know what's going on in my area, because a lot of times I've seen where ATM thefts happen in Houston. And a lot of times I work those cases. So that morning I'll reach out like, hey, I saw y'all caught this guy. Y'all got any information that I can link him to any of my cases, So I use it kind of as a networking tool. And I watch the nightly news. I watch world news. I'm just that person because I want to know what's going on. So when somebody does make a comment, oh, have you shot another black man recently? People will come up and say that to me in public. And I'll say, well, which one are you referring to? Let's talk about it. Let's discuss this and learn.
They're trying to trigger you when they hit you with it, though.
They do.
Yeah.
They're assuming that because I'm a white female that I'm going to shoot them or shoot somebody that's walking by that's black. Mm-hmm. And so I use it as an opportunity. Well, which case are you talking about? Because I'm well versed in what's going on in the world. And I can maybe explain more specifics or how things could have been handled, how, the person that got shot could have handled it better as well as the police officer. And it always takes them off guard.
It does. And have you had receptive people to that when you catch them off guard, or it's like, oh, wait a minute?
It depends on what their intent was. If their intent was to try and incite me to be able to record me going off, then they walk off and mumbling as they're walking off. And have a blessed day, sir. Yeah. And then you'll get some people that stop and they're like, well, thank you for taking the time to actually talk to me about this. Yeah. And so go one or two ways. It's a misconception
of law enforcement that you're not willing to have that conversation.
Yeah. Come talk to me and tell me your story.
Yeah.
You're nodding, Lance. Go ahead. You want to add something in that? No,
I'm agreeing with everything that's being said. No, this is good conversation because society, most citizens, they don't get a chance to hear this. It's just like you said, media says this is what happened, and what happens. It becomes every single police officer in every city, every single state, single city, right? It's all of us. It's not what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's what happened there. It's every single police officer thinks the same exact way. But to be able to hear you guys say, listen, it's not like that. We really are, good people. Right. And we really do want to serve and protect. And it's just a small fraction that's making us all look bad. For the public to hear that, and hear the sincerity when you say it, hopefully that'll start to change some mindsets.
But do you think it's a difference because we're women saying it? Because the conversation can be told. When I interview people for different things, let's say relationships, when I talk to a group of men and then a group of women, it can be the exact same questions, the tension, the tone, it is different.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to men, it's you need to respect me. And then some men cannot handle or cannot take a woman telling them anything. And then they make you automatically emotional. They try to insult you with the whole feminine stuff. Listen. Right.
Yeah.
I've been a woman all my life. Stop it. You know what I mean? Exactly. Don't do that.
It's not a disability.
It's not a disability. And they want that reaction because they automatically think a woman cannot lead, a woman cannot do these things. I'm going to hit you where they think it hurts. Not knowing we've heard it all growing up.
It's a protective barrier.
Yeah.
But I think if we were speaking to two men, it'll be totally different than what we're having right now.
Well,
most definitely.
I would agree with you, but we need to change the culture with men being able to be vulnerable just like we are. And that's the problem. They keep that wall up that they've got to be the leader, the protector. So they don't allow for these vulnerable moments.
Right.
But that starts at home, though. That just starts when you're raising your children. You hear it. Boys don't cry. Suck it up. Protect your siblings, this and that. And they teach us to nurture and be soft and be meek, and you can't do anything. So that has to stop from there. But I think a lot of it would be a different type of, because men don't feel safe having a conversation and being vulnerable.
Exactly.
I think it's already changed, though.
It's changed a lot.
It has.
The younger generation.
Women are, we are so y'all can't see this, where I'm like fist pumping in the air. We are the bomb.
Yeah, we're pretty amazing.
And we are taking the world by storm. Look at all these judges. You have all these high positions with women and very educated, not afraid to speak on whatever they need to. So we're already there.
We are.
They didn't expect it and they're not ready for it, but we there. And I'm loving every moment.
But I want both of you to try to work on your wellness and your self-care. Don't just be white knuckling it.
Right.
But I want to say that I appreciate the transparency and I appreciate the honesty. And I know it's a hard conversation to have dealing with your field, to be honest and transparent. If we do it again, hopefully it'll be even more honest and transparent. Hopefully you feel comfortable today having this conversation. I want to thank you for doing it. I know Lance, thank you tremendously for doing it.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. And that's it.